Josh Bell walks it off for the Marlins in Game 1 against the Brewers. 3-2. The Marlins have been hot in May. And under the radar, the offense is sneakily good in May. Can the Marlins continue this up to the deadline and actually be buyers at the deadline? Probably not, but we dare to dream. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. It's your daily Marlins pod. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, firstly, hello. Secondly, this is your team every day, and thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Don't forget to leave a review. This pod is available everywhere. Everywhere you get your pods, you can get Locked On Marlins, of course. Daily podcast covering the Marlins. There is also a YouTube channel. Hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. It is also called Locked On Marlins. Easy to find, easy to subscribe, and easy to comment, no doubt. And join me in the comments, as always, after every single episode. Another reminder, there is also a Locked On Marlins postcast. Grease has got you covered on the postcast. He will be covering and putting an episode out immediately after the game, giving his immediate reaction. And to be honest, Grease got the postcast rolling. The Marlins were in a serious slump. They didn't win any games. And all of a sudden now, Grease has got a lot of walk-offs to cover. So don't forget the Locked On Marlins postcast as well. This episode itself is sponsored by our good friends over at PrizePicks. And it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And guys, Tuesday's episode, we are talking walk-offs from Josh Bell. We need to talk about the ice bath. It was a multi-bucket bath from Josh Bell. Well, he was the recipient, and he took it very Sandy-like. Remember Sandy with that ice bath where he just stood there and was like, douse me, baby. Just completely douse me. There was some of that kind of vibe for Josh Bell. So love to see that. Not only the walk-off, the ice bath, but also we want to talk about Josh Bell in terms of the month of May. You remember a few weeks back, I was saying, Josh Bell, it's been a real rough start for him. The Marlins were probably wishing that he hadn't opted into this situation. He's owed a lot of money. He's the highest earner from the offensive standpoint anyway. And considering the early production, you were thinking, man, it's an expiring contract, but the Marlins will struggle to find a trade partner here for Josh Bell. Well, fast forward a few more weeks, and all of a sudden, Josh Bell is hot, baby, and looks like an asset. The Marlins, thinking about that situation, likely going to have to eat a lot of money if they want to move Bell for anything of note. But he is absolutely playing himself into a role on a team that's contending this year. Let's go back to where I started, though. I called out to say the Marlins, they're playing some better ball. This is 2023 Marlins back. Tanner Scott back. The rotation going deep into games. Yes, there's no Sandy, but there's a new horse in town, according to Skip Schumacher anyway. And that horse is my ace for 2024. Ryan Weathers, another absolutely stunning outing from Ryan Weathers. Fresh off the back of Sixto slander, rightly so, from Skip Schumacher. He gets exactly what he's looking for from the Marlins rotation, and it's in the form of 7 innings from Ryan Weathers. This is what you need. This is what the Marlins have missed with Sandy going down. Yes, Sandy wasn't quite as good in 23, but even though he wasn't quite as good, you were still getting 7+ from Sandy. No one else does that. No one can be trusted to do that. Skip spoke about it in his post-game presser to say, he's the guy I trust to go 90, 100, 110. Spoke about, I called it out in spring that with Ryan Weathers, the thing that you can hang your hat on there is durability. And what we saw yesterday for me was, the the last outing was statistically his best, but I mean, yesterday has to be right up there. 7 innings, just 2 hits, 1 earned run, which actually come on a stolen base at home, stealing home on that one. 3 walks, 8 Ks, and a home run as well in there as well, which broke up. Unfortunately, it broke up the no-hitter that he had going, 2 outs in the 6th inning. Sorry. So Ryan Weathers really giving it a ride there. But it was the strikeouts that stood out for me there. 8 punchies, which, is impressive in 7 innings there from Weathers. And he really has become, I know a lot of people look to, Jesus Luzardo as, the ace. He got the ball opening day. But, Ryan Weathers has been far more consistent than Jesus Luzardo. He's been durable. And we'll talk about Luzardo shortly because there's been some rumors surfacing there. But again, Ryan Weathers, Skip Schumacher calling it, he's a horse. And he has this durability and he has these Sandy-like attributes. Maybe, and he's still growing. And Skip called this out too. Ryan Weathers is not a finished article. He's not a finished product at this point. And with Sandy, we saw it, right? We would see these glimpses. We would see these flashes. But it took multiple years to get Sandy up to the point where he became and where he's ended up. And Ryan Weathers is still super young. Skip called it out again. Super young guy. He hasn't reached his ceiling. He's trusted to go deep into games. He's durable. And he's now learning how to pitch. He's now learning. This is it. You get the early tweaks from Mel Stottlemyre, right? You get the early Mel, let's just move these pieces around. He's now at this level. The next question is what's next for Ryan Weathers? How much is there in the tank? And again, for those that follow this podcast and have followed this podcast all year through spring, through last season, I think we all kind of called this out as probably more than a possibility. I probably was leaning towards a probability with this situation. It felt so similar to Jesus Luzardo, former top prospect, flamed out. They've run out of patience. Marlins scooped them up. It looks a bit raw when they get into the organization, but an off-season later, next thing is, you're seeing it. We saw exactly the same thing with Luzardo. We've seen the same with Weathers. Really impressive stuff from Weathers. Back-to-back starts, super impressive stuff. And he's only going to grow in confidence. And this is part of the journey. He's learning all the time. You can't help but be super impressed with Weathers. No doubt. No doubt. Who is the ace now? Who do you trust? If someone was pitching for your life right now in this Marlins rotation, who would you give the ball to? I know for certain it wouldn't be Sixto Sanchez. Maybe for your worst enemy, you'd give the ball to Sixto. But yeah, Sixto. But you look and you think, Brax, Trevor Rogers, Jesus Luzardo, Weathers, Sixto. Who do you trust most? I think we all have the sense that Jesus Luzardo, I think, probably has the best stuff, maybe, of all of them. But I don't know. I don't think it's clear cut. I definitely don't think it's clear cut. We're going to talk about Jesus Luzardo a bit later because his name did pop up in some trade rumor discussions. Before we do that, I think it's right that we reflect and almost celebrate. We're 3 weeks into May, and it feels like the Marlins have turned a corner, finally. And the offense, particularly, has turned a corner. Some of the guys, everyone out the gate, was super slow. That first month, putrid. Pitching putrid, bullpen putrid, offense putrid, fully putrid. Now, the boys are winning some games. It looks fun. The vibes are returning. The season's cooked, by the way. Season's cooked because they dug themselves in such a deep, deep hole. So deep that Peter Bendix decided to move the best hitter in Luis Arias, in the first week of May. So we've already white flagged the season, guys. Let's just call that out, by the way. A few people going, hey, can the Marlins keep this rolling? No, by the way. There is no way. I hope they do. But the Marlins effectively have white flagged the year. These little walk-offs, these little moments, they're just little moments for us to enjoy as fans. But overall, as a fan base, we're not going to be in the hunt this year. And I think we all know that situation. So it's all about, really, in that type of season, it's personal progression, both with the big league club, the minor league guys. We're just tracking progression. We're tracking milestones. We're looking to a Ryan Weathers. What can he become? We're looking to Braxton Garrett. Is he for real? I know we saw what we saw last year, but there's many Marlins fans that remain skeptical of Braxton Garrett. Is he for real? Can he come back and do this? We're looking around now and thinking, Tanner Scott's an absolute stud and will be moved because his value is going to be super high. One of the best relievers available, in my opinion. But we're looking around and thinking, can AJ Puk rediscover it? Could AJ Puk return as the closer in 2025? Tons of minor little subplots going on here. But we do have to celebrate May, and we will celebrate May. And we're going to look at the offensive performers and performances in a little bit more detail after the first ad. Before we do that, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at LinkedIn. Yes, sir. And guys, I use this every single day. LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I'm in sales. It is a must-have, must-use tool. If you're struggling to close deals, then B2B selling, it is tougher than ever. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Nav. Sales Navigator from LinkedIn is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenues, increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals, such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date, first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That is linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon to get started. All right, guys, welcome back. Me, Peter Pratt, on Tuesday, the 21st of May. The Marlins have just walked off the Brewers. Bullpen game for the Brew Crew. Ryan Weathers, back-to-back stunning starts. Josh Bell with the walk-off. After the Brewers get into the extra innings, after the Brewers decide to load the bases, walk a couple of guys, load it up, look for that double play ball, see what you can make happen. Josh Bell said, game's over, baby. Josh Bell, double ice bathed. Loved it. He embraced it. Great to see. Just by the way, I want to call out, there was an ice bath over the weekend. I didn't mention it on yesterday's episode, but it was great to see Luis Durante Jr. doing an interview, a post-game media interview. He was asking the questions for once, not translating, but then he got fully doused with the ice bath. I'm not even sure who he was interviewing, to be honest with you. I've forgotten who that was. I just remember Louis getting absolutely covered, which is great to see. So I love Josh Bell's situation there. Let's talk about Josh Bell because, he's the one that inspired this for me. You go to the Marlins stats for me. I was thinking because Josh Bell, he's been heating up. I go and look at the month of May and think, what's Josh Bell been up to in May? And man, oh man, through May, 67 at-bats worth. He's got an OPS of 930 at this point. Josh Bell is back, baby. Berger and Bell. Well, Berger's defense is kind of back. I'm not sure about his offense after that injury, unfortunately. I'm sure he'll come back, but Josh Bell, when the Marlins needed him most to get going, and this is going to be interesting, if Bell can keep this rolling through June into early July, the Marlins actually have a shot of being able to move Bell for some kind of prospect return. Like I said, they're probably going to need to kind of eat the rest of the dough. But that's what we've already seen with Luis Arias. The Marlins and Bruce Sherman is happy to eat the dough. This is the Mets approach. Buy prospects. That's what they're going to be doing. So my anticipation is with Josh Bell that he will be moved. There will be a buyer. The Marlins will eat the money. And they will find something of value-ish that will come back most likely either a guy that's relatively old for the age, i.e. a 24-year-old dude, 25-year-old that isn't quite there yet, or an 18-year-old, 19-year-old flyer. And to me, that's kind of the vibe. Like, they've gone down that path a few times, like with the birdie return. Not to say that was a flyer, but, it feels like they're stacking those like lower age range levels in some of these deals. So nevertheless, a few weeks ago, it looked to me like Bell was immovable, an immovable object. Now we're looking at Josh Bell and we're thinking, well, we don't have to think. We can just look at the numbers and think, man, there's a guy there that's got a 930 OPS in May, 67 at-bats with 3 home runs, 15 RBIs, 12 Ks to go with that. But when I also then look at the other guys and the other performers, and this is it, right? The Marlins have definitely performed better in May. They've won close games. They're walking everyone off. Like, that's their MO. It's not. The Marlins in 23 was 1-run game dubs. 1 run come from behind dubs. In 2024, it's walk-off dubs. They could set a record, a major league record for the number of walk-offs. I don't know. That's just their MO, which is kind of Skip's MO, if you know what I mean. Like, it feels like a Skip Schumacher kind of trait. Scrappy, 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 keeping the game, find a way to get it done. Like, it just feels like it's a Skip team. That's like his DNA in some ways. Anyway, back to the hitters. You then look at who else has been performing in May. We've talked about Otto Lopez, but Otto Lopez still, he had a couple of, nice at-bats to get his Marlins career going, and you think, well, he's probably going to fade. In May, 39 at-bats worth, Otto Lopez, in May, he's got an OPS over 900. It's 902. 2 boombas in there. 2 boombas from Otto Lopez. Great to see. Very intrigued to see how the Marlins play this. Some other kind of breaking news as we start this episode on Tuesday evening. Tim Anderson is back, recalled after a short stint, both on the IL and also AAA. Hit a home run during his AAA rehab, which was encouraging to see. But Tristan Gray going the other way in terms of he is optioned back down to AAA. Tim Anderson back up. Interesting to see how they kind of mix and match now with Tim Anderson, with obviously, like, it feels like Brujan has, found a role for himself. He's found more playing time, that's for sure. Otto Lopez, second hottest hitter in the team, so like he's found a role too. So going to be interesting to see how the playing time evolves for Tim Anderson specifically. We then get to the number 3 ranked hitter for the Marlins in May via OPS. And it's Christian Bethancourt. Boy, oh boy. We were thinking Christian Bethancourt would never have a hit for the Marlins. We were thinking, let's get Joey Bart in here. Anything's better. I still think they should have got Joey Bart, by the way, but they didn't. Anyway, Christian Bethancourt, during May, he's hitting 304. He's got an 855 OPS. He's had his first Marlins career home run, an opposite field blast. As well. So love to see that Oppo with the Boppos. They're my favorites. But Bethancourt, now he's hitting. Nick Gordon as well. Started hot, cooled. He was ice cold for a while. He'd only perform on a Sunday. Nick Gordon now in May, 833 OPS. Brian De La Cruz, he continues to perform, 798 OPS. Jazz Chisholm Jr., he's basically out there every single day. Has Jazz had a day off yet? I'm not even sure he has. Jazz is out there every day. For Mr. Glass, it's great to see Jazz not missing any playing time. Jazz has got a 765 OPS in May. So, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 hitters, 765 OPS or greater. And that's why, guys, that's why the Marlins are performing better. Vidal Brujan has definitely cooled off a touch, by the way. Like, Vidal Brujan was just on fire for a period. And he's definitely cooled recently, and the at-bats are not looking as impressive for Brujan, which is, I think it's probably timely that Tim Anderson is back, by the way. Like, Tim Anderson has a bit of a break. He was struggling. Brujan takes a lot of playing time, actually. But now Tim Anderson's back. Maybe Brujan can kind of get back to slightly less playing time, not every single day. But even so, it's been encouraging from the offensive group. When we look at the bottom end of that, you scroll down, not to labor it, Tristan Gray didn't really get an opportunity as OPS of 0. Nevertheless, Tim Anderson, I've already mentioned, in 27 at-bats, he's got an OPS of 222. So not amazing. But the one that stands out clearly is Jake Berger. Jake Berger, 51 at-bats in May. He's got an OPS of 233. He's hitting 098. Jake Berger has struggled mightily since returning from the IL. We know we'll find it again. We've seen it pretty much all of his Marlins career, but it's just one of them. You have a lat strain, whatever it might be. Everything's thrown off. Maybe you're tentative. Maybe it's kind of just niggling away. Maybe it's bad luck. Could be loads of things. The other one too, Jesus Sanchez. The OPS is through May is only 548. And so I don't know why it feels like Jesus has been doing better than that. But when you look at the numbers in May, it hasn't been, anything to get that excited about. But going to the top of this, Bell on fire. Lopez continues to be on fire. Bethancourt looking like a stud all of a sudden. Nick Gordon looking like a contributor. Brian De La Cruz, he stayed level. So was Jazz, and Jazz is out there every single day. Dane Myers doing okay as well. He's in the leadoff spot today as well. So, there's guys that are performing now where early in the year, man, it was so tough. So tough. Let's hit the final ad. And then we're going to come back and talk about Jesus Luzardo specifically. I also want to talk about Tanner Scott, which I think we have to do after another stunning outing from Tanner Scott. Before we do that, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at PrizePicks. And guys, PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. I almost chose the wrong script there, but I didn't. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You simply just have to pick more or less than on 2 or more player stats and watch those winnings roll in. Baseball season is officially well underway. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond into your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entries today. Well, like I've already mentioned, Dane Myers leading off. I'm taking the over on hits for Dane Myers. He's going to get plenty of opportunities today, and he gets left in there as well against the right-handed pitching. So Dane Myers in there. I like him in the leadoff spot. Could be really interesting as well. Trevor Rogers going for the Marlins. Are you going to take the over? Are you going to take the over on the strikeouts? For me, considering what we've seen from Trevor, it's going to be intriguing to see how he bounces back. I personally, considering what we saw last night against the Brew Crew and their offense, I'm going to take the over as well on the strikeouts for Trevor Rogers. So, PrizePicks, what have you got to do? You got to simply download the app today, and you got to use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Reminder, download the app today. It's PrizePicks. The code, use this. It's LOCKEDONMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, guys, welcome back to the final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, on Tuesday, the 21st of May on Locked On Marlins. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen. The Marlins walked off the Brewers yesterday. Josh Bell, the hero, double doused with ice. Great to see. Love to see that. Josh Bell equally is the hottest hitter in the Marlins lineup right now in May. The Marlins have started winning games. Ryan Weathers is a horse, according to Skip Schumacher. Back-to-back outings, 7 or more innings. He has become Sandy Alcantara, baby. He may not look like Sandy. It may be slightly different. But what he has been able to demonstrate and what Skip trusts him in doing is going deep into games. Being able to go 100, 110 pitches and go deep into games. And Skip also mentioned as well, honorable mention to yesterday's game for Andrew Nardi. Back-to-back outings for Nardi. It was only one out that was required, but Nardi stepped up to the task and delivered. We also then get into Tanner Scott. Boy, oh boy, Skip talked about it again. What a post-game. I love Skip Schumacher's post-game presses, by the way. But he spoke about it again yesterday, just saying, I know other people have seen other variants of Tanner Scott, but he's only ever seen one version of Tanner Scott, and it was the 2023 version. He's an absolute beast. Skip Schumacher called out. Tanner Scott is a beast. He's a free agent after this year, unfortunately. So the beast will be moved. Where will he go? Will the beast stay in the East? Or maybe go out west? I think he'll end up somewhere west. Nevertheless, Tanner Scott came in, a walk, a K. His ERA now for Tanner Scott, that's his 4th win he acquired yesterday as well, by the way. But his ERA now sits at 1.80 for Tanner Scott. After a pretty ropey start and a ropey spring, Tanner Scott has been back to his former self for a number of weeks now. He, like I already mentioned, is one of, if not the most coveted reliever available, in my opinion, as we approach the deadline and get into June and July. Again, for any other organization, you have to think, you see what Tanner Scott is. You know what impact he can have. And you know what impact, like, I look at the Mets, for example. The Mets started pretty well. Next thing is Edwin Diaz is just completely gone wonky. All of a sudden, the Mets season spiraled because the closer's gone wonky. I look around the league and, again, with the Padres and Arias, they like the player, they like the time, and they wanted to get him in sooner because they want to benefit from him sooner rather than later. So again, with the Marlins, Tanner Scott, it wouldn't stun me if a deal was done with him earlier than the deadline. Yes, they may be able to try to leverage that position, but we've already seen if the Marlins get a deal they like, they're going to pull the trigger. And, but the thing is with Tanner Scott, there should be 15 to 20 suitors for him, potentially. There'll be a lot of interest in Tanner Scott, so the Marlins can absolutely sit tight on him, but clearly they need him to stay healthy. Let's briefly and finally talk about Jesus Luzardo. I saw a tweet anyway, reporting that there's some interest from the Tampa Bay Rays for Jesus Luzardo, which sounds very interesting. Again, speaking about Jesus Luzardo, the same as Tanner Scott. The reality is, for Jesus Luzardo, there should be 29 teams picking up the phone and asking about Jesus Luzardo. He's got multiple years of control. He's still young. And frankly, any team can trade for him, build around him, and extend him, like the Twins did with Pablo. It wouldn't stun me if there's like a team that we don't expect that comes in and, if they really like Luzardo, makes a move, get him in, and just extends him. And you've got a guy locked down. Like, we see how hard it is to build these rotations. We see how tricky it is. The Marlins have done a great job, of building up their rotation through this rebuild. I mean, we think back to how the rebuild started, the Jeter rebuild. They had nothing pitching-wise. And, we have to call out, multiple years on as we embark on probably another rebuild. But, man, the one thing they've been able to do is to nail the starting pitching market. Like, they're just superb in that area. Jesus Luzardo, like I mentioned, he's going to be available. He was already available in the offseason. It's a matter of when, not if, with Jesus Luzardo, because they need to kickstart this rebuild. And the way to do that is to move their most valuable guys. By trade values, Luzardo is that guy, I guess, at this point. Probably is that guy. If he's healthy, he definitely is that guy. And so we're going to see where it goes. But Tampa Bay Rays, by all accounts, interested. The Baltimore Orioles were interested at some stage. Like I said, 29 clubs should be interested in Jesus Luzardo because, frankly, he makes every club better. Frankly, 30 clubs should be picking up the phone. Skip Schumacher's probably picking up the phone to Peter Bendix to say, don't trade this dude. Or maybe Bruce Sherman is. I don't know. But it's going to be one to watch. There's going to be a lot of this popping up, I think, over the next few weeks. Rumors with Jesus Luzardo, etc., etc. In the meantime, we'll embrace it. We have to remember he was acquired for a couple of months of Starling Marte. An absolutely stunning deal if we look back on it for the Marlins and what they were able to get back for Starling Marte. Many people now starting to ask the question, what trade value does Ryan Weathers have? It's a great question. The reality is, for trade values, a lot of people will undervalue Ryan Weathers at this point. But from what we've seen with his time with the Marlins, he's fixed. He's now a horse. He's already an ace in my book. You have to put it down to Mel Stottlemyre, Kim Ang as well for pulling that deal, getting Ryan Weathers in. And I think in a few years' time, we could be in exactly the same position where we look back. Ryan Weathers is probably moved because that's the business model. At this point, he's a horse, an ace, whatever it might be. And he's moved on. And we look back and go, man, how did we manage to get a couple of months of Derek Cooper and turn that into Ryan Weathers and multiple years of production, and then also flip him for some top-level prospects? Boy, oh boy, they are the models. They are the deals that we're looking for. Guys, going to wrap it up there. Thanks for joining me on Locked On Marlins and making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Trevor Rogers going this evening. Again, there's no UK-friendly game in this series, which is disappointing. Gasser is going for the Brewers. I have no idea who Gasser is, but he's 2-0 with a .82 ERA. Trevor Rogers 1-6 with a 5.79 ERA. 2 lefties going. We've got the lefty lineup. The Marlins, in the main this season, have really struggled against left-handed pitching, so it could be another rough one. But the sticks are alive. We'll see if the Marlins can get it done. See you then.